Gentlemen, I wanted to just start, Stephen, your media diet. What does your media diet consist of today?
I tend to get my national news from the BBC or from a national newspaper, The Guardian or The Times, largely.
But do you think you're getting your news today from more sources or fewer sources? I mean, in terms of actual point of origin?
I think probably fewer. I think largely I'm getting my news from Associated Press, it seems to me. When I see the byline as being, or at the bottom it says AP, then right. I think broadly speaking there must be a couple of journalists at the AP who I'm getting all my news from.
Right. Gianni, you're spending time on the lovely train between Manhattan out to Princeton. What does your media diet look like?
My dad was a journalist. I started being a journalist when I was 17, so pretty much I never bought newspapers because either they found them at the newsroom or my dad brought them when I was in the house. So when I left Il Sole and I became a freelance again, I went to the newsstand and I ordered my usual diet. And for the first time at the end of the month, I was shocked to learn that it costed 800 euros. And I had to give it the guy in exchange for newspapers 800 euros. I sat down and said, like, what do I really need? Yeah. Do I need the Herald Tribune or the website of the New York Times is enough? Time and Newsweek, do I need them when I read The Economist cover to cover? So I'm now down to 3 Italian dailies and an international press, the Financial Times, the Herald Tribune, and the Wall Street Journal, plus The Economist, and that's my diet. The real change is Twitter, because if you tweet the right people, and not just like the big guys. For example, there is the young kid in Italy, Fabrizio Goria, that is doing a great job in putting together all the best articles about the financial crisis from all over the world.
Better than any newspapers are doing or anyone else.
He's doing much better, and following him for free, I learn. Right. So Twitter is a great diet. What worries me is the Google algorithm, and this is going to be very important vis-a-vis Asia too. If you guys in this room do the same search right now on Google, asking exactly the same keywords, you will get results that are very different, because of course the algorithm addresses you according to the researches that you have done in the recent past. That is perfectly okay when it's a marketing gimmick. But when you come to politics, to ideas, this is scary, because this means that if I'm a Tea Partier and you are very liberal, we will always be addressed to the ideas that we already share. And we meet writers and people and audience that we agree on, and little by little we lose focus on whoever doesn't agree with us. And this polarization is very, very dangerous.
I know there are journalists who are renegotiating for their job based on the number of clicks that their stories have had on the website. Now, consequently, the stories that you write on the website are going to be about attracting clicks. You know, I mean, there are publications that I won't name. There are British and American publications who will pay you, on results, on clicks. There are magazines that shouldn't be doing this who will pay you according to the number of people who read your article. So at that point, I think that's probably the most dangerous and insidious attack that the internet is really having on journalism, is the idea that you then have to put essentially William and Kate in the intro to any story just because you know it's going to get 6 million Americans looking at it. So I think that's one of the massive problems with that level of insecurity about reporting that doesn't allow people to follow the story. They have to follow the story that they believe. They're second guessing what they think the reader will want.
Are we moving to a world where there is just one voice, and what is said is by, and what matters is 4 CEOs sitting in and around San Francisco?
I think that for very serious reasons, when you're looking at any industry or any business in the middle of a downturn of this magnitude, which is hitting the media industry particularly, but also the world in such a spectacular way, there are panic-based decisions being made, and particularly in a stock market-style economy, those panic-based decisions reverberate really massively. And what at the moment I think you're seeing is the rise of an oligarchy, and I think that oligarchy is one of the things that people don't consider, for instance, with the iPad or with the Kindle, is that there is content control. There's an oligarch level of content control. Kindle will edit out certain books, but we don't perceive that. I think that's the thing about the phone comparison. It's not necessarily, on a phone you could say largely anything unless the FBI were listening. To a degree, there is a content management on some of those platforms. And these are quite often individuals. Now, what you're also seeing is in the Russian oligarchs buying into UK media. So you're seeing the people who have the deep pockets and are prepared to take a long-term view of the media and think that having a platform is worth money, becoming the dominant players in the media industry, and the shareholders, the once benign idea, really, in a way, of a PLC beginning to retreat from media. And I think that's problematic, not necessarily because these people are evil, but because it removes a democratic element from the top rather than from the... so that's why I think the problem with the West Coast is that it is secretly an oligarchy, but we don't see it as that.
You're in America, so the land of still, some pretty good broadcast journalism, depending on the outlet. What about when you get home in the evening? Does the U.S. nightly newscast or any of the networks in all of their partisanship count?
The interesting thing is that the polarization of American politics now it makes following the political news completely useless.
Right.
Because mostly you find the left as funny guys, Colbert, Mr. Stewart, and they laugh about the Republicans. The right as serious guys that make you laugh even more than the comic guys. But there is no reporting at all.
Right.
And Rooney, Mr. Rooney, retired last Sunday from the legendary 60 Minutes. And I thought it was symbolic that any kind of objective journalism, CNN polls are going down, and ratings going really down. We objective journalists, as you know, I'm very proud of objective journalism. We are on the defense right now.
I think where the money is at the moment is long-term, is in magazines. I think that you could easily see Business Insider launching a FT How to Spend It and actually making quite a ton of cash through that. Now, I think it's really uncertain. I think magazine publishers are very, very scared. But I think the idea of an editor brand is still probably the last bastion of function that a journalist or an editor has. I think if you look online and you see the editor brands, the BBC is an editor brand. Actually, Apple is an editor brand. And I think that magazines are the places where you can most champion the idea of the editor brand. So I would see if I was him, and I run the Business Side now, I would aim to launch a magazine, obviously. And Google is looking to launch a magazine, insanely. They're currently interviewing journalists to launch a print magazine, which I think, says something that I don't understand, but hopefully it means I'll get paid at some point.
Maybe that's a good moment to wrap it up. But these gentlemen around, if you want to call it. Gianni, thank you.